Wu Zetian, the only and most legendary female emperor in Chinese history. Part 7. Emperor Tang Gaozong, Li Ji, intended to depose the Wang surname empress and replace her with Wu Zetian, whom he favored. However, he faced strong opposition from the prime ministers in his government and felt extremely downcast. Was there no hope at all? Were there no loyal ministers he could rely on? When one door closes, another opens. At that moment, Li Ji suddenly thought of one important minister whose stance was unknown, Li Ji. Therefore, Li Ji urgently summoned Li Ji.
Li Ji, 594 December 31, 669, was a prominent general in the early years of the Tang dynasty, renowned for his remarkable achievements. He was one of the 24 generals of the Lingyan Pavilion in the Tang dynasty's Memorial Hall. Li Ji was originally named Su Shijie and came from a wealthy family. Both Su Shijie and his father, Su Gai, were generous and charitable, providing aid to the poor regardless of their relationship. During the late Sui dynasty, at the age of 17, Su Shijie joined the rebel forces against the oppressive Sui dynasty. He followed several rebel leaders and eventually pledged allegiance to the Tang dynasty. Emperor Li Yuan, the founder of the Tang dynasty, cherished Su Shijie for his loyalty and honesty and granted him the surname Li. From then on, Su Shijie changed his name to Li Shijie.
Emperor Li Ji saw Li Ji and immediately asked, "I intend to proclaim Wu Zetian as the empress." But Chu Suiliang firmly opposes it, considering it unacceptable. Since Chu Suiliang is an influential minister in the administration, does this matter come to an end? Li Ji looked pitifully at Li Ji, his eyes filled with earnestness. Li Ji couldn't bear to hurt the young emperor and could only respond ambiguously, "This is your majesty's family matter. Why bother asking an outsider?" This was Li Ji's neutral stance, but upon hearing this, Li Ji's sorrow turned into joy. Since there were differing opinions among the ministers, the emperor with unlimited power could use it to win over, divide, and weaken the ministers. This would secure his victory.
In ancient China's feudal autocratic society, the power of the ministers was bestowed upon them by the emperor to help maintain long-term rule. However, if the power of the ministers began to affect the emperor's immediate actions and interests, the capricious emperor would revoke their power, even if it would have implications for future rule. In the year 655, on the 13th day of October, Li Ji finally issued an edict. Empress Wang and consort Xiao were accused of conspiring and poisoning and were deposed to commoners, imprisoned in separate estates. At this point, the power struggle between Li Ji and the prime ministers had become apparent. The ministers sided with Wu Zetian one after another. Encouraged by Minister Su Jingzong, who supported Wu Zetian, both civil and military officials jointly petitioned Emperor Tang Gaozong Li Ji to proclaim Wu Zetian as empress. On the 18th day of October, Li Ji issued another edict, proclaiming Wu Zetian as empress. At the same time, Prime Minister Chu Suiliang, the most active opponent, was demoted. On the first day of November, the ceremony for the enthronement of Empress Wu Zetian was held. The new empress received civil and military officials outside the palace, not just within the inner palace where female officials paid their respects, as was traditionally done. This highlighted Wu Zetian's ambition to not only be an empress within the inner palace but to unify the entire realm. With the emperor's power in his hands, Li Ji swiftly eliminated all obstacles to depose the Wang surname empress and replace her with his beloved Wu Zetian as empress. At the same time, all the ministers who had been entrusted with important responsibilities by his father, the previous emperor, were also excluded. The influence of Wu Zetian, who had suffered grievances from a young age and harbored deep resentment towards the world, was evident. The gentle and kind little prince in the eyes of his father, Emperor Tang Taizong, his uncle Changsun Wuji, and the regent prime minister Chu Suiliang had transformed into a cold and merciless emperor. To ensure the absolute security of Wu Zetian's position as empress, with Li Ji's permission, she ruthlessly tortured and killed the deposed Wang surname empress and consort Xiao. The original crown prince was deposed, and Wu Zetian's eldest son, Li Hong, was made crown prince. To demonstrate his absolute imperial power, Li Ji banished all the prime ministers who had once restrained him and appointed a group of officials who had contributed to the removal of the Wang surname empress and the establishment of Wu Zetian as empress. At this point, Changsun Wuji was deeply disappointed in Li Ji and had distanced himself from the palace's political struggles, devoting himself to writing historical books. However, even Changsun Wuji could not escape the bloody purge of political enemies led by Li Ji and Wu Zetian. In 659, Changsun Wuji was falsely accused of plotting rebellion, stripped of his title, and exiled to the remote region of Qianzhou. Eventually, he took his own life. In the year 660, the ailing Emperor Tenggaozong Li Ji suddenly suffered a stroke and was unable to handle state affairs. He entrusted them to Wu Zetian for handling. This allowed Wu Zetian to directly assume the highest power in the country. Her desire for political power continued to expand, gradually developing her own political faction.
The expansion of Wu Zetian's personal political faction raised concerns and panic in Li Ji. He was worried that the imperial power he had just taken back from the regents would be stolen by Wu Zetian. Consequently, Li Ji secretly summoned the Prime Minister Shang Yi for discussion. Li Ji hastily ordered him to draft a decree to depose Wu Zetian. Upon learning of this, Wu Zetian pleaded and defended herself to Gaozong. Li Ji, unable to bear deposing Wu Zetian and fearing her anger, said, "I initially had no intention of this. It was all taught to me by Shang Yi." Soon after, Wu Zetian had her trusted confidant Su Jingzong falsely accuse Shang Yi of colluding with the deposed crown prince Li Zhong in a rebellious plot. Shang Yi was executed, and his assets were confiscated. The deposed crown prince Li Zhong was also executed. To prevent Emperor Tenggaozong from making further mistakes and being influenced by corrupt ministers, Wu Zetian accompanied him to court every day. From then on, Emperor Tenggaozong was marginalized, and state affairs were completely controlled by Wu Zetian. On December 27, 683, Emperor Tenggaozong Li Ji passed away at the age of 56. Crown Prince Li Xian succeeded him and became Emperor Tengzhongzong. Wu Zetian was honored as Empress Dowager. However, in less than 3 months, Emperor Tengzhongzong Li Xian was deposed by Wu Zetian, and his fourth son Li Dan was installed as the new emperor, known as Emperor Teng Riyuzong. Li Dan spent his years confined within the palace, having only the title of emperor, while all actual political power was monopolized by Wu Zetian's autocratic rule. Ancient China was a patriarchal society, and a woman assuming the throne was metaphorically referred to as a hen crowing at dawn. Wu Zetian had always held a contemptuous view of traditional Chinese culture and sought to promote herself as an example of a woman capable of becoming an emperor. She actively promoted a foreign religion, Buddhism, because certain Buddhist scriptures such as the Commentary on the Mahayana Sutra of Great Cloud and the Jeweled Rain Sutra propagated the idea of a female ruler. Wu Zetian ordered the widespread dissemination of the Commentary on the Mahayana Sutra of Great Cloud among the general public. She also commissioned the construction of numerous Buddhist temples throughout the country, each housing a copy of the Commentary on the Mahayana Sutra of Great Cloud, and instructed eminent monks in various regions to expound upon its teachings, aiming to justify female rule and prepare for her own ascension as a female emperor.